Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Giridhari Radhika Raman Ki Jai Ho. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Ho. Purushottama Mas Ki Jai Ho. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janabalava Givaradhari Gopi Janabalava Givaradhari Yasoda Nanjana Braja Jana Ranjanan Yasoda Nanjana Braja Jana Ranjanan Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janabalava Givanadhari Gopi Janabalava Givanadhari Yasoda Nanjana Braja Jana Ranjanan Yasoda Nanjana Braja Jana Ranjan Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janabalava Givaradhari Gopi Janabalava Givanadhari Yasoda Nanjana Braja Jana Ranjanan Yasoda Nanjana Braja Jana Ranjanan Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jai Om Agyanatimirandasya Jananjana Salakaya Chakshu and Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapatantikam Namo Mahavandanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gaur Tabhishe Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'd like to offer my heartfelt Puspanjali to my Harinam Diksha Guru, our Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. Second of all, to my Bhajan Shiksha Guru, our Gurudev, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and to Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, and to our entire Guru Parampara, and especially to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and his Madhurya Kadambini. Jai Ho. So, sweet breezes from the Yamuna here in Vrindavan. Here we are in Vrindavan. We've had quite an exciting week. As most of you probably heard, we had a lot of flooding in the Yamuna in the last week. She went way up. She came up to almost the door of Gopinath Bhavan. She flooded the entire Parikrama path on this side. On the other side she didn't, but on this side near the Yamuna, she flooded the entire Parikrama path. Keshi Ghat, of course, was very flooded, Kaliya Ghat. We were the last ones to get the last bit of dryness to go. So it appears that Gopinath Bhavan is on the highest piece of land, the highest piece of Vrindavan. So we were the last, so we had a little bit of dry, and then all of a sudden it covered up, but only for a few hours. And then she started to go down again. So it was actually quite sweet. Of course, a few persons were suffering, and there were rescue centers for those that were suffering, and there was free prasadam being distributed, especially by ISKCON. So mostly everyone was taken care of. I heard of a few casualties because of electrical water, which is always a problem during a flood. So we did lose our electricity. We never did lose our water in the building, but we did lose our electricity because they have to turn off the electricity in these times. You know, so but we were very happy. And here by the Yamuna, it was a very, very festive mood. The Vrajabasis are very, very happy people, you know, happy residents of Braj. And they're very, very flexible. And they just, you know, as we would say in America, they roll with the punches. And they're always laughing and happy and Radhe, Radhe. I have a hand pump right outside down here on the gully below. And of course now everyone was going to the hand pump because most people had run out of water. But we hadn't. And normally there's no one going to that hand pump. But now so many persons were going to the hand pump. They're very happy lining up with their buckets and taking their showers under the hand pump. It was not a big thing for them, really. They were very happy. The children are swimming in the river that's now running down the Purkima path. They were having a great time. Still, many bicycles were going on through the water, and motorcycles, and even rickshaws going on through the water. Life goes on. Now, from my own personal view of this, or my understanding, how I was feeling about this, it was actually feeling so sweet and so purifying, because as we know, Yamuna Devi is a manifestation of Vishaka. She's a daughter of the sun god, but she's a manifestation of Vishaka. And Vishaka, of course, as we know, is one of the Astasakis, one of the most important Astasakis. She's similar to Srimati Radhika. So she likes to serve Krishna in so many ways. She likes to serve the divine couple. So as we know, Purushottama Mas is the personification of Krishna. Purushottama Brajendanandan Gokulpati Krishna. You know, he's the presiding deity of this month. So from what I could see, I know in the spiritual world, there's no dirtiness, there's no uncleanliness, but there's the idea of cleaning. Like this Manjaris are always sweeping the kunj, and even in Srimati Radharani's kunj in Javet, they're cleaning the drains with water and drying with their hair, and this idea is there, although nothing's really dirty. But here in Drishyaman Vrindavan, which is where I reside here, it's called Drishyaman Vrindavan because it's a Vrindavan we can see with our material eyes. Drishya means to see. So this Vrindavan here, this Dham, is very spiritual. Drishyaman Vrindavan, it's what Krishna has left after he performed his pastimes here 5,000 years ago. And it's a holy place. But most of us living here, we live on the net of Maya, covering the Dham. We haven't really entered the Dham because we're not purified enough. We have to become free from all our narjas, all our material desires, any desire for sense gratification. We have to only desire to serve Krishna to really reside in the Dham. So we're here on the net of Maya, which is, you know, but it's still wonderful. Everyone's saying Radhe, Radhe, no matter who they are, no matter how many material desires they have. So it's definitely wonderful. So the way I was feeling about it is that Vishaka, you know, in the form of Yamuna, who's manifest here in Drishyaman Vrindavan, what we could see, because there is some external contamination here many times. There's lots of garbage, there's not healthy thoughts. So she just came and purified and cleaned before her beloved Krishna, Purushottam, Brajendanandan, Sri Krishna was going to appear. And this is how I personally was feeling about it. And right now it's a very nice mood here. Very nice mood. I did see one video where, while the flood was still, now the flood's quite down. I mean, she's still huge, but she's off the Purkima path. And she's down in a normal flooding condition, which is way across the fields. She is huge, that is for sure. And her breezes are always purifying. As we know, Mam Punata Sarvadara Binda Bandhu Nandini, please always purify me. Just thinking of reciting by Yamuna, we get purified. What to speak of her sweet breezes, like this, always purifying us. So I saw a video of some pujaris, I don't know where, exactly where, but they had a boat, and it was all decorated. They had their Thakurji on the boat, and they were taking her around, you know, even the, you know, on the flooded Parikama paths and gullies, and she was going for a boat ride. So that was very sweet. This is the consciousness of the Vrajabasis. Still, let's serve Krishna. You know, let's give him some enjoyment. He likes to go boating, so here, let's go boating. Like this. So as we know, it's very favorable to reside in the Dham. Even if we're on the net of Maya covering the Dham, we're in Drishaman Vrindavan still. It's very favorable. But it's most favorable and really only favorable if we're living in the association of pure devotees. This is the most important thing. We have to be under the guidance of the Rasic devotees, those following Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, the 6 Goswamis. So if they're not here externally, like my Srila Prabhupada, our Srila Prabhupada has entered Nitya Leela, Srila Narayana, so many have entered Nitya Leela, but they're still here. And they're here through their Vani, isn't it? Through their instructions. So we have to take those instructions to heart, whether we're living here or around the world, and trying to have our mind in Vrindavan and make our minds Vrindavan. It's the same. Because here, we also have to make our minds Vrindavan. I can be living here, my mind can be in America, it can be in South Africa, it can be anywhere. It can be in Loy Bazaar, worried about the price of tomatoes, which has gone up to 150 rupees a kg, and everyone's freaking out because everyone loves tomatoes. You know, so, you know, our minds, we have to fill our minds with Braj and with the instructions of the Vrajabasis, especially those, the Rupanuga Gaudiya Vaishnavas, who are the Vrajabasis that we're following. And so if we're here and making our minds, meditating on their instructions, even worshiping their instructions, carrying out their instructions, then we're living in the association of pure devotees. And we're having istagosis with like-minded devotees, like this, reading the Shastras, the Bhakti Shastras, like this. Then our residence here on the net of Maya, Drishaman Vrindavan, can become successful. And also for all of you that don't live in the Dham here. It can be very successful, because sometimes living away, as we know, separation makes the heart grow fonder. So we may take it a little familiar here, but you're over there, you're longing and longing, and it's very difficult over there. The energy, let's say in Los Angeles or in New York or in London, it's not a conducive atmosphere. So one has to really, really be very careful and work very hard at keeping the mind focused. It's not easy. So anyhow, I just wanted to share a little bit of the ushering in of Purushottama Mas here in Vrindavan Dham by Vishakha Devi, Yamuna Devi. It's been very sweet, and it still is sweet, even though I must say it's really hot and humid. So it's like, it's a real test and it's a real struggle. But we try and just remain very detached. The thermometer will say 31 degrees, and it will feel like 41 degrees because of the humidity. So this is a challenge. So everyone's struggling in different ways. Okay, now back to our Madhurya Kadambini class. And we're in the seventh shower, which is Bhav. And the Sanskrit term that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur uses is Paramananda Nishandini. Paramananda Nishandini, which means the flow of divine rapture. That's what he calls Bhav, this flow of divine rapture. Paramananda Nishandini. That's very beautiful. Very beautiful. So we've already touched on a few points, and now we're going to go deeper into the understanding of Bhav. And I must say I'm not so qualified for this, but we will keep trying to repeat the words of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. and our Guru Varg. So now we're moving on to where are we here? 1E. 1E. We've done 1A, B, C, D. Now we're up to 1E. Now this is very interesting. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur starts describing at this stage the remembrance, the intelligence in the mind of a Bhava Bhakta. And he's revealing that in this stage, the Bhava Bhakta, he has continuous, uninterrupted remembrance of Bhagavan. Now, whether it's Sita Ram, whether it's Narayan, but for us it's Radha and Krishna. It's not just Krishna, it's Radha and Krishna, the divine couple, Jugal Kishore. Our goal isn't just Krishna, it isn't just Radharani, it's Jugal Kishore. This is our goal, this is our Istadev, our Mahaprabhu. So at this point, the Bhava Bhakta has uninterrupted remembrance of Bhagavan in whatever form that it is cherished Istadev. And it's called Dhruv Anusmriti. This is a Sanskrit word for it, Dhruv Anusmriti. And that literally means like an unbroken stream of oil. If you're pouring oil, oil doesn't come in parts as it's being poured. It comes as an unbroken stream. So in the mind and the intelligence of the Bhava Bhakta, this remembrance of Sri Krishna, Radha and Krishna, Jugal Kishore becomes uninterrupted. There's no break. This is astonishing. It's just an awakening though. It's in the heart, it's in the mind. It can come as a momentary vision even. But it's a continuous remembrance and a continuous realization. So this is, now we're leaving the material modes of nature. Now we're entering really the spiritual world. You see, this is the first dawning of Prem, the first ray of the sun of Prem. They're the first sprout of Prem. This is Bhav. And so at this point, in the waking stage, the mind of the Bhava Bhakta, because at this point, the material senses, the material mind, the material intelligence is pretty much not our identity anymore. We're not fixed in this identity. We'll talk a little bit more about that a little later. And so what is going on with the material body, like the material mind and everything, and the perceptions, this is the word I'm looking for, the perceptions of the taste, the sound, the smell, all these things, it's pretty much not affecting the Bhava Bhakta. Not at all. It's pretty much inactive. So, at this stage, his remembrance of Bhagavan is continuous because he doesn't have any interference from the senses or the mind or the intelligence. It's just not happening. He has, his anartas are pretty much all gone. So he's not having disturbances. When he sees an apple, he'll think, oh, that's a beautiful apple to offer to Krishna. Immediately, you see. He won't think, oh, it's a nice apple, got a worm in it, I don't think I want to eat it. You see, for his own sense gratification, for his own self, that isn't there anymore. He's not perceiving the world as for his sense enjoyment. He's perceiving the world as a servant of Krishna. And for Krishna's pleasure, Radha and Krishna's pleasure, like that. So he's not being disturbed. So in his wakefulness, it's easily remembering, like this. And then because of this, his inactive material senses, also when he's sleeping, his subtle senses, his mind, intelligence, and ego, they're inactive. So what he has perceived in his waking state, which is service to Krishna, and Krishna comes there in his dreaming state. So he's always remembering Krishna. in his dreaming state and how to serve Krishna. Won't this be wonderful? This will be a very wonderful state. We're looking forward to it. That's why we hear about it. So that we can want to. If we don't, we won't want to go somewhere if it doesn't sound attractive. Like, you know what I mean? If it doesn't sound attractive, why would we want to go there? So we want to hear about Bhav and Prem, so we're going to want to attain these stages, these levels, So we won't want to stay here in the material world thinking going to Hawaii and swimming in the ocean, oh, wow, that's really nice. I've heard it's like the heavenly planets. Prabhupada says it's like the heavenly planets. Oh, even better, let's do a lot of sacrifice and go to the heavenly planets, and then, wow, we can really enjoy, So we want to hear about the absolute truth and where real happiness is. So it's in Bhav, it's in Prem, it's in service to Radha and Krishna. That's our natural position. That's, as we heard, Paramananda. Ananda means bliss, Parama means the topmost. Paramananda, spiritual bliss, Paramananda. And the flow of this, the joy of this flow of this Paramananda, this is Bhav. What to speak of Prem, which is a fulfillment of perfection. Like that. So now the third stage of consciousness is deep sleep. And in deep sleep, even your subtle body, you're not dreaming, you're just completely inactive. The gross body, the subtle body. So how can there be remembrance of Krishna? Well, what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says and what Srila Narayana Maharaj's commentary says, the remembrance of Krishna is in the soul, in the Atma. So, because the Bhav Bhakta is identifying as the Atma, as the Siddhadeha, which is the Atma, that remembrance is going on there. So even though he still has his material body is inactive. But the remembrance doesn't break because it's going to the real core, the soul, which is where the remembrance is actually coming from. Comes out from the soul to the subtle body, to the gross body, like this, when we still have our sadak body. See, at the level of Prem, the sadak body will also go. But at this point, we still have our sadak body that we're practicing sadhana in, and it appears to be made of earth, water, fire, air, ether, like this, Mind, intelligence, ego, although it's being transformed. Because by the practice of bhakti, even the gross body becomes transformed, spiritualized, but it's not our Siddhadeha, like this. So it's a very mysterious phenomena. Actually, the transformation from being a gross materialist, being in the bodily concept of life and material conception of life, to actually perceiving ourselves as a servant of Krishna, and in whatever specific consciousness we have. Like for us, it's as a maidservant of Srimati Radhika, a follower of Rupa Goswami, Rupa Manjari. Specific Siddhadeha. We have, our Atma has the blueprint of who we actually are. Now, some people don't say that, but anyhow, this is what Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru, this is what we're following. And this Siddhadeha, at this level of Bhav, will actually become manifest. It's a little bit hinted at in a Shakti, but in Bhav, then we actually come to understand who we really are. And that is then we're coming to the next section, which is 1F. 1F, which is the identity of ahanta, who I am, and what is mine, possessiveness, mamata. So in Bhav, this sense of ahanta, who I am, and mamata, what is mine, is completely transformed from the material concept, I am the body. It's made of earth, water, fire, air, ether, but that's me. I am that, and everything's meant for my enjoyment, and I should be able to control everything. I'm having a hard time at it, but anyhow, that should be what's going on. Then the subtle body, mind, intelligence, false ego, like this. Whoa, it's full of all kinds of desires and, whoa. This is the material concept of life, the bodily concept of life. now in the stage of Bhav. And as we know, it's been transforming. In Ruchi, things are starting to really change and transform and mature into more spirituality, and in Shakti. But in Bhav, there is very, very little left of the concept of I am the body, the material body. It's not the Bhav Bhakta is thinking, and it's been revealed to him what his Siddhadeha is. The Siddhadeha is manifest actually by Sri Guru. Unless, of course, in Leela, some of our acharyas are eternal associates, like Rupa Goswami. Now, he's eternally Rupa Manjari, so it's not like his guru has to reveal his Siddhadeha to him. It's automatically, he's Rupa Goswami and Rupa Manjari. But for us conditioned souls who are practicing the path of bhakti, we don't just imagine our Siddhadeha and imagine that we're now that, and that's real. No. It's a process. The process is that when we're qualified and Sri Guru wants, he bestows upon us the realization of our Siddhadeha, and he manifests our Siddhadeha, and our conception of who we are becomes situated in our Siddhadeha instead of in the material body. It's a gift from Sri Guru. That is the actual truth. It's explained here in Madhurya Kadambini, it's explained in Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bhajan Rahasya, and in many places. And all of our acharyas have shown this. So we shouldn't try and imitate the Nitya Parikars. We should be very, very careful. Just like some neophyte devotees, they think, well, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, well, he sat down in front of a picture of Gaura Das Babaji and he took sannyas. So, yeah, I think I'll try that too. So I'm going to take sannyas in front of my picture of my guru. This is bogus, completely bogus. When it's on the platform, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he's eternally Nayanamani Manjari, he's eternally Bhaktisiddhanta, and his guru, Gaura Das Babaji, and himself are never separated. There's no real difference between, prakat, a manifest, and unmanifest. They're always together, like this. So if we were on that platform, then maybe then that's different. But for us, conditioned souls, we have to be very careful that we don't imitate and we don't make a huge mistake in our spiritual life that could ruin our spiritual life for a long time. We don't speculate and we don't imitate. We follow in the footsteps. And that lots of times doesn't mean even the activities of the pure devotees. It means their vani, their words, their instructions. Because we cannot always follow the activities of the pure devotee. We follow what they tell us, their instructions. This is the important point. That's called anuga, following in the footsteps. So at this point, when in Bhav, when Sri Guru has actually manifested our spiritual Siddhadeha, eternally pure, perfected spiritual body, Siddhadeha, it's also called, there's another name for it, Antaschintita Deha, which is the internally contemplated spiritual body. Because in Bhav, we're not completely situated like in Prem. Still, it's mostly internal. As Spurti is coming, realization's coming, and we're meditating on our spiritual body and carrying on activities internally, but externally, we still have this body. We're not actually on the level of Prem where you only have one body, which is the spiritual body, Prem. In Bhav, we still, and so there's a very famous verse by Rupa Goswami that explains what we should do at this stage, and it's in the 6th chapter of his Bhajan Rahasya, which is all about Bhav Bhakti. 6th chapter of Bhajan Rahasya. It's a very famous verse. Seva sadhaka rupena, siddha rupena chatrahi, tadbhava lipsuna karya vrajalokanusarataha. That means seva sadhaka rupena. So in our sadhak body, we're doing the activities. And what activities are we doing? We're following Vaidhi Bhakti. Because Raganuga Bhakti is not performed in the material body. It's not. So, the Rupanuga Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they're following a special Vaidhi Bhakti given by Mahaprabhu and Rupa Goswami, and we're following theirs, which is to chant Hare Krishna, worship Tulsi. It's all in Rupa Goswami's books, his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He tells us in his Nectar of Instruction, he tells us how to follow in our sadhak body, like this. And Raghunath Das Goswami's Manashiksha. So we follow like this. We follow very carefully. And we follow all the rules of the scriptures that are applicable to us. I think it's the Ragvarma Chandrika, I can't remember exactly where, Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur has also explained those things. He's like, there are certain things that we must do, certain things that are okay if we do, certain things that are okay if we don't do, like this. Because we don't just follow, let's say, Hari Bhakti Vilas. There's so many rules and regulations in there, it's not possible for us as conditioned souls, especially Westerners, to follow all of them like that. And that isn't the important point. The important point is to be chanting Hare Krishna, following the 5 most important limbs of bhakti, which is hearing, chanting, remembering, living in the holy place and worshiping Thakurji, Tulsi, like this. This is the most important. So, in our sadhak body, we follow, like we go to Mangalarti, like this. Our consciousness of Mangalarti may be different than the neophyte devotee who's just going, but we have Mangalarti, and if you do your own Mangalarti. Even the gopis are doing Mangalarti. They do Mangalarti in Nishan Leela. Saharipo. We worship Tulsi Devi, like this. We chant Harinam. Yeah, in the prayers of the 6 Goswamis, it lists all what they're doing. But internally, that's something different. They're conceiving themselves as Rupa Manjari, Rati Manjari, like this, and Seva, like Rupa Goswami has revealed in his Ukalika Valari. This is a revelation of his Manjari desires for Seva. Or in Vilap Kushmanjali of Raghunath Das Goswami. So when will I be able to do this? When? This is the mood at this stage. When, will I actually attain prema? So I can actually be situated completely 100% in my spiritual body, because a material body cannot serve Radha and Krishna. Not possible. So as long as we have a material body, it's not possible. It's a desire. It's an eager hope. But not until we have prema. And we're in our Siddha Deha, we're fully situated and there's no more. The material is gone 100%. Then we're qualified to what? To get trained in Prem Seva. Because at that point it doesn't just boom and all of a sudden we have everything. No, there's still more to learn. We go to, as we know, to the planet where Radha and Krishna are having their pastimes in the material world. And we get born in Barshana, and we get trained by the Sakis, by Ananga Manjari and her Sakis, by Rupa Manjari and her Sakis, by Lalita and Vishaka. We get trained. And this is talked about in Rupa Goswami's Ujjvala Nilamani. Not completely, but there's a peep into what's happening there. This is the world of Madhur Ras, of the gopis. There's one verse in Ujjvala Nilamani where it's talking about one gopi is teaching another gopi how to do man. Oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. You see, like this, because we're Sada and Siddha bhaktis. Of course, if we're lucky, we might get Kripa Siddha, but still, we're not Nitya Siddha, like this. So we need some training even once we go to the once we attain our spiritual body. And once we attain prema and everything in this material world is finished. So then he says, Siddha Rupena Chatrahi. So in our Siddha Rup, in our Siddha Deha, this is contemplated. We haven't fully realized, but we're contemplating. And we've been told by Sri Guru, okay, you're a maidservant of Srimati Radhika. You should consider yourself like that. If you read Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Jaiva Dharma, in his, I think it's the second to last chapter, I forget, or third, it's called Entering into Leela. And there, even in his Jaiva Dharma, he reveals how we're supposed to think. And it's a conversation between Narada Muni and Sanat Kumar. And it's revealed in the Sanat Kumar Samhita also. And he's saying, Sanat Kumar is telling Narada Muni, the man, Narada Muni, right? The male, you should contemplate yourself as a female attendant of Srimati Radhika. You're situated in the heart of Braj. You're a Kishori. Your only desire is to serve Radha and Krishna. You never want to enjoy separate with Krishna. Your only bliss is to bring. He's revealing this in Jaiva Dharma. This is for everyone. This isn't secret. Jaiva Dharma is there for everybody. See? Like this. So there is a point where we're supposed to start internally conceiving. It's not that we think externally, like the Sahajis here in Braj, and they dress up like gopis, their material body, and they run around, and that's complete Sahajya, and it's a what do you call it? It's a blockage to our, it can ruin our bhakti, like this, because we can commit offenses, because the material body is not fit to serve Radha and Krishna. And the material body is not a gopi. It's not. So it's, made of earth, water, fire, air, ether. Gopis' bodies are Sat Chidananda, only made of pure spiritual bliss, So we have to be very careful. Because when I was in Los Angeles in the 70s, while Prabhupada was still there, we had what came up with the Gopi Bhava Club. I wasn't part of it, but I heard about it. I was too busy distributing books. I didn't have time, and it was something that I don't know exactly what they're doing, but Prabhupada didn't approve, and he disbanded it. He said this was way above what they were supposed to be doing. They weren't qualified. I think they were only reading about the gopis, and I don't know exactly what they were doing. But anyhow, Prabhupada was not happy with this, because it was way above our adhikar. And that's why we have to follow our guru, who knows what's best for us. Because if you just read the scriptures, and you only, let's say you read certain things, let's say, the teachings of Rai Ramananda Mahaprabhu, then you're going to think, yeah, Gopi Bhav, let me start practicing this, because it goes way down. And Rai Ramananda ends up very high, in praying. But it's a gradual process, and we have to go step by step with a bona fide guru who is a Rupanuga Gaudiya Vaishnava, or we'll fall quite far. And then that's really difficult to get going again, you see? So just, even like in the Bhagavatam, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, I think he explains this in the Ragvartma Charjika, almost in every chapter. Like it will say, I don't know if it was Vritasura, I forget. It was so-and-so's, some personality's prayers. So I think it was the Lord Shiva, and he has prayers for the Brichetas. And they're beautiful prayers, and probably at the end of that chapter it says, so everyone should chant these prayers and everyone should meditate on them. And then in another chapter somebody else will give prayers, and they'll say, oh, you should chant these prayers. You should always think about this, Dhruva or Prahlad, But actually, as we become, that's okay generally, but as we become more focused on who our Istadev is and who we really are and what our goal is, then we follow what's favorable and nourishes our cherished desire and our cherished service. So then, as Srila Narayana Maharaj said, what do? We concentrate on 10th canto, and we concentrate on the prayers of the gopis. Venu Geet, Pranaya Geet, Gopi Geet, Jugal Geet, Vihara Geet, Viyo Geet, Brahmar Geet, like this, But under guidance, proper guidance, not before we haven't passed through Upadeshamrita, Manoshiksha. My first that I started with was Ishopanishad. I used to recite Ishopanishad, and it was very helpful at the time when I was a neophyte devotee. Very, very helpful. And you go through Bhagavad Gita, you go through Bhagavatam. But eventually, now we're talking about Bhav. So in Bhav, one becomes completely focused on what's going to nourish his particular Bhav and Rasa and Seva. There's no more other things. No. For preaching to the masses, that's different. Then we will preach Prahlad Charita, as Bhaktisiddhanta preached Prahlad Charita so much. Prabhupada did, Gurudev did. But for our own internal bhajan, that's something different. Then we become more focused at this level. And the remembrance of our Istadev, Radha and Krishna, Jugal Kishore, becomes uninterrupted. And our identity as, I think the best way to put it, not I am a maidservant of Srimati Radhika, unless we understand what that means I have the potential to be a maidservant of Srimati Radhika. In Bhav, you actually know you are. But at least myself, I'm lucky if I'm in Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Narta Nivritti. So at my stage, I think I have the potential to be a maidservant. This is my goal. It's been revealed. This is my, and I'm aspiring Rupanuga Gaudiya Vaishnava, so I'm aspiring follower of Rupa Goswami, aspiring follower of Rupa Manjari, like this. That's not dangerous. It's not. But we have to be very careful that we're properly identifying, you see? But in Bhav, that's not Sadhu Sangha, Narta Nivritti. That's not Nishta. It's a whole nother level. So in this stage of Bhav, we're following, like this verse of Rupa Goswami says, we're following in the footsteps of the Vrajabasis. That's what this Vraja Lokanusarataha. We follow in the footsteps of the Vrajabasis, externally and internally. And for us, it's Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, externally and internally. And they were always chanting Hare Krishna, right? So now also the concept in this 1F is mine. It's called mamata. So we have ahanta. I'm not this material body. I'm a spirit soul, Siddhadeha. I am a potential maidservant of Srimati Radhika. In Bhav, they already know I am a maidservant of Srimati Radhika. They take shelter of Srimati Radhika and Rupa Manjari. They have the qualification when you're in Bhav. Complete qualification. And what is the entrance? The Rupanuga Gaudiya Vaishnava, our Rupanuga Guru. We can't just barge in there without some kind of identification, some kind of sambandha, isn't it? We cannot. You can't be practicing without Sri Guru and Sri Vaishnavas. No, then the Gopi, just like that's what happened when, in a different sense, but it's the same sense, when Lord Shiva wanted to witness the rasa dance, wasn't it? And finally Yogamaya gave him the body of a Gopi, but he had no sambandha. He didn't know who his parents were, he didn't know anything. And so when the Gopis found him, they were beating him up. Haribo, you don't belong here. But finally, he got the mercy of Yogamaya, and he got to be the gatekeeper. So it also says in this Bhajan Rahasya that it's by the mercy of Yogamaya. Purnamasi Yogamaya, who can make what? The impossible possible. This is how we actually gain entrance. It's through our Guru, but it's by the mercy of Yogamaya. Yes, she says, okay, I'm the one that made it possible for you to go to the material world. Shouldn't have been possible. You're a spiritual entity. How can a spiritual entity be covered by Maya? Shouldn't be possible. Even though you're so small, still, spiritual energy is so much more powerful than the material energy. So how? I made it possible that you could go to the material world. So by my mercy and my potency, I can help you go to the spiritual world. So we pray to Yogamaya. to help us. She's so important. So, let's see. So we're back to Mamata. I'm getting sidetracked here. So Mamata is what is mine. So mine is no longer my wife, my family, my son, my daughter, my house, my country. These are all material identifications. You all know this. So what is mine? Mine begins with the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. That's they're mine. They're my Ishtadev. They're my maintainers. They're my protectors. They're the one who's is giving everything. They're my source of happiness. Service to them is all that I desire. And everything pertaining to them, my Guru, my Vaishnavas, my Vrindavan. Why? Because they're Krishna's. This is Krishna's Vrindavan. This is Krishna's Swami Maharaj, Prabhupada's. This is Krishna's Gurudev, Narayana, like this. If they weren't connected to Krishna, we wouldn't be thinking they're mine. They're mine. They're Rupa Goswamis. They're mine. They're my heart and soul, my Bandhu. Bandhu means so close, like this. And everything about Radha and Krishna is mine. Their name, their form, their pastimes, their qualities, their everything. This is my life and soul. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur speaks about, it's really beautiful, he becomes very poetic. He says, just like a honeybee is looking for the honey or the pollen in a flower, and just looking for that. So the bee-like devotee, who's the Bhav Bhakta, he's just looking for the honey or the pollen at the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. And it's called Makaranda. Makaranda is a word that means it's more than honey, more sweet, more thick. It's a word you find in the Goswami's literature quite a bit when it's speaking about Ras. Makaranda. It's so sweet, so thick, you get stuck in it. This is the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. It's their pastimes, it's your service in the past. It's the whole relationship. And he says that the bee-like devotee is like doing madhukari. See, madhukari is a word in Vrindavan that means like saintly people. They go from house to house and they beg a little, right? And they're like bee-like devotees are going from flower to flower. So the Bhav Bhaktas are going and they're taking a little from Radha and Krishna's lotus feet and from their devotees, like this. They're doing madhukari of this Makaranda in Vrindavan, of the lotus feet of Vrajendranandan Sri Krishna and Vrajeshwari Srimati Radhika. So beautiful. In Bhav, we finally become so immersed in it's called, what's the word? It's called, what's the word? I thought it was here. Anyhow, can't remember what the Sanskrit is. It's, the English is the intrinsic beauty of Krishna. The word that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur uses is lavanya. He doesn't just use Madhurya or Rupa, or say, he uses lavanya. And the way I've understood this word lavanya from Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj, he said, it's like you have a pearl. And if you have a real pearl, the beauty of a pearl is just emanating out. It's just flowing out of this pearl. So lavanya is like that. Krishna's beauty is just emanating out. This is lavanya, his beauty. It's not just, his chest looks nice, his arms look nice, but it's just this all-pervasive beauty. It's called lavanya. It's also spoken about in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam when the Mathura ladies are just talking about Krishna. When they see him in the wrestling arena, and they're glorifying the gopis because they're so lucky that they get to see the beautiful form of Krishna all the time. And they say lavanya sar, the essence of lavanya. So this is Krishna, transcendental. This is Srimati Radhika, lavanya amrita. She has 3 baths. This is very high. This is in Prem. She has karunya amrita, Tarunyamrita and Lavanyamrita. She takes these baths. She takes a bath in Karunya, and Tarunya, which is youth, and Lavanya, which is this special beauty. This is spoken about by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. So the Bhav Bhakta can finally start to relish this. He can relish at this point. Let's see, where am I here? getting all absorbed here. Okay. So at this point, the Bhav Bhakta, he becomes completely absorbed in thinking that he is identifying within as a maidservant of Srimati Radhika, if he's in Madhur Ras, which we are. And he has almost no identification with his present body, and he also has my service. He's thinking about seva, so this is his mamata, my seva to Radha and Krishna. And that is revealed by Sri Guru. That's explained in the, I don't think he speaks about it so much in this Madhurya Kadambini, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur, both in his Jaiva Dharma and in his Bhajan Rahasya, he speaks about this. He speaks about the 5 dasas, Shravan Das and these things, and he talks about the 11 Ekadas bhavs, which is, it's revealed to you what your name is, what your clothing is, who your parents are, what your specific service is, like this. This gets revealed at this stage by your Sri Guru. Everything becomes clear and real. It's not a mental speculation. And it's not something that you go somewhere and pay some money for and someone gives it to you. It has nothing to do with the external world. Nothing. And it's your own personal, individual. It's not that, oh, you go in a group, and this whole group, oh, you get this name and this, no. No. It's personal and individual. And it's our sambandha. And also your abhideya is given. Your service is given. And your goal is given, which is just prem seva. Assisting actually your Guru Sakis in their prem seva to Radha and Krishna. We're assistants, But that's wonderful. Sometimes the assistants do the direct service. If you read Rupa Goswami's Utkalika Valari, or Raghunath Das Goswami's Vilap Kushmanjali, or Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's Sankalpa Kalpadruma, you see there, It's beautiful. It's very beautiful. So now we're going on to the next section. I know it's getting late here, which is 1G. We'll start 1G. I don't think we'll finish it. And this is beautiful. That the Bhav Bhakta, at this point, he has what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur calls the beautiful, precious jewel of Bhav. It's there in his heart. It's such a jewel, but he's trying to conceal it. He doesn't want anyone to know, because most persons aren't qualified. So the ordinary people just think he's deranged or insane and he's intoxicated, and they can't understand it all. So he's trying to hide it, and he's trying to act kind of normal. But it's really impossible. But this is what's happening. Just like in Srila Narayana Maharaj's Navadvip Parikrama book, he has a section where he's describing Vamsidas Babaji, who is a Mahabhagavata. He was in Sakyaras, right? And he lived there in Navadvip. At the time, I think, of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, yeah. And he was fully Siddha. And the way Srila Narayana Maharaj describes him is that he was continually wandering on the platform of Bhav. He was just absorbed, wandering on the dimension of Bhav. like this. It's so beautiful how he says that. And you can see externally, he looked mad. If you see pictures of him, he really looks mad. So, and what would he do? Because he didn't want to be bothered. He would throw fish bones around. He would do this and that. So people would think he's just a mundane, mad person. He did not want to be bothered with his wandering on the platform above and praying, doing his seva. You see? So, now there's the other kind of pure devotees, like Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, my Prabhupada, Bhakti Vaibhav Puri Goswami Maharaj. They come to the Majjhima platform to preach. So they act like Majjhima Adhikaris. And we can very easily, if we're not careful, mistake them for ordinary Majjhima Adhikaris and commit offense. We have to be very careful, because they are not. They're actually Uttam Adhikaris. But they've come to help us, to spread, to help serve Lord Chaitanya, and to help serve Rupa Goswami establish Mahaprabhu's desires in this world, isn't it? Sri Chaitanya Manopistam. They are serving Rupa Goswami, establishing the mission of Mahaprabhu in this material world. They're establishing the conceptions, the process, the sambandha, the goal, everything. They're establishing all over the world. Not just in India, but all over the world. What an amazing seva. But they're also within, wandering on that platform of bhav and prem. And every now and then, maybe a little peek would come out. We hear a few stories of Bhakti Siddhanta, a few stories of all of them where you got a little glimpse of who they really are and where they really are. And what did they always preach? Back home, back to Godhead, attain prem. Get your business over in this lifetime, go back, Like this. They weren't here saying, oh yeah, go on, life after life. No. Yeah. And Srila Prabhupada, he gave his nectar of devotion, which speaks about prem. He gave the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It speaks about the highest ecstasies of Mahaprabhu. Like this. So it's not like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Some of his lectures and some of his speaking is so high. All about Srimati Radhika. Yeah, he was saying, what was the last quote I just sent out? It was like, we cannot be independent. This is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. If you're independent, you will not be able to be successful in bhakti. Not possible. And he gave the example of the gopis. He said, if the gopis were all independent, there would be just confusion. How would they be able to have the rasa? Nothing. He said, so actually you have to follow in the footsteps and take shelter of Srimati Radhika. And then everything is harmonious. You're not independent. You're dependent on Srimati Radhika and this line. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He gives so many jewels of the goal. He has another article called Living in Braj. So beautiful. Came out in our Harmonists. So we should understand that as Srila Prabhupada has said, there's no material impediments in bhakti, and we should actually try to make this our last material birth. We should try for it. Bhakti Siddhanta said it. Everyone has said it. It actually is possible. Why? I mean, it's highly unlikely because we're so unqualified. But, as we've heard, Yoga Maya can make the impossible possible. And if we desire it and we have the faith that it's possible, then it can be. But if we don't desire it and we don't have the faith, what can she do? We're being independent. And they don't, okay, if you think that you got to take 10 more births and you don't have the faith, okay, Haribo, take another birth. But if we believe our Guru Parampraha, if we believe Rupa Goswami, we believe Mahaprabhu, and we believe Yoga Maya herself. She says, I can make the impossible possible. Have faith in me. Take shelter of me. And I will do. Sri Guru, he says, have faith in me. I can do. Prabhupada would always say that. I can do. Just serve me. I can do. Like this. Look at Ajamil. Ajamil's so unqualified. But he heard the conversation because of he chanted Narayan, calling his son. And he heard the conversation of the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas. And he got purified. He went to Hardwar for, maybe 25, 50 years. I can't remember how long it was. It says in the Bhagavatam. And he did a little sadhan bhajan. And then he came in the plane from Vaikuntha, the Vishnudutas, and took him back. Now, it may not happen, but we should have faith that it can happen, and we should have faith that it's possible. See? And then Sri Guru, when he wants, he will give. Like we see, we will come to the level of bhav. It can be quick. Why? It doesn't have to be slow, going through Nishta, Ruchiya, Shakti. We think, oh gosh, it's going to have to take, but we don't know. It can happen very quickly. Look at what happened with Ajamil. Like this. So we should want to please our Guru by having this desire and having this faith, because that's what he wants. We should be grateful to our Guru. He's picked us up out of ignorance. He doesn't want us to stay here. He wants us to attain bhav. He wants us to attain prem, our siddha. So how are we being very grateful if we think, oh, well, it's too high? We should at least be honest and say, I think the problem is I'm just too materially attached. I got too many material desires. I wish I wanted that. You see, if we wish, then Sri Guru can do something. If we're just being honest, you see, like this. But, oh no, it's too high, it's too this. Then we're negating our possibility. But if we think, oh, I wish I wanted it, I don't want it, but I wish I wanted it. Yes, it is true. Yes, it is possible. Like this. Anyhow. Okay, we'll stop here. Vancha kalpatubhishta kripa sindhu vyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Jai Shri Guru Rangaram Dharvika Vidhari Radhika Ramanki Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Gaura Bhattavinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhattavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Jaya Gandharika Giridharika Giridhari Radhe, Jaya Radhika Raman, Jaya Radhika Raman, Radhika Raman, Jaya Radhika Raman, Jaya Govardhana, Jaya Giriyaja, Govardhana, Jaya Giriraja, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Bo, Radhe Radhe, sweet breezes from the Yamuna.